Come on in. Welcome to Idled Out, where we talk all things Survivor. My name is Luke, and today we're ranking all 50 Survivor logos. This is part of a new, unscripted series where I'll be doing long-form, tier list style rankings of anything and everything on Survivor, allowing me to kind of break out of the top 5 or top 10 format when needed, all with new music to differentiate it from the other content on the channel. Basically, we're just casually hanging out talking Survivor. So let me know what sorts of things you guys want to see ranked. The world is our oyster. We can rank immunity necklaces, winner reactions, stupid nicknames. Please let me rank stupid nicknames. You name it, we can do it. And what better way to kick off things than by ranking every Survivor logo? It's the first thing players see on their buff, it's used heavily in promo materials, and a good logo, for me, effortlessly encapsulates a season's theme or location, while also being visually appealing and eye-catching. Honestly, most of the logos are good to great, but not all of them land for me. Now, keep in mind, this is just my opinion. My list is probably different from your list. In fact, it would be very, very weird if we had the exact same list. I know I have some fan favorites ranked low and some not so fan favorites ranked kind of high. So just keep in mind that our opinions are probably different, and that's okay. And I do want to know what your favorite and least favorite logos are. Let me know in the comments. Let me know why I'm so wrong or so right on something, but let's just all be respectful when we're talking about our opinions. Anyway, we've got 50 freaking logos to get to, so let's get going. We're going to start with the F tier. These are logos that just didn't work at all for me. There's not many here. Like I said, Survivor logos are usually really good, but I actively dislike all of these logos, and they're either extremely over or under designed, and very few, if any, of the design elements work for me. The worst logo, unsurprisingly, is one probably most of you have pretty low, and that is the logo for Survivor 42. It's unpopular, and for a good reason. It genuinely looks like they didn't finish it. I'd bump it up a few notches if like the lock and the key and the maze incorporated into the season in any way. Like if the final immunity challenge was going through some big complex maze where the solution is right there on your buff, and then at the end you get to unlock a lock with a key. That would be really cool, and I would bump this up a few slots, but overall, it's just kind of giving like Denny's child menu for me. Like you give this logo to a kid to color on crayon at a chain restaurant. Honestly, it's a complete miss. The next logo in the F tier is the logo for Survivor 50. Obviously, I get what they were going for. This is the Survivor Borneo logo with a giant yellow 50 on top. They're trying to connect it back to Survivor's very first season. I respect that, but the Survivor All-Stars logo did that far more successfully. This looks like their Adobe subscription ran out and they had to cobble this together in MS Paint. Like, I just don't like it. Again, I get what they were going for, but it just looks lazy, which, considering the quality of a lot of the logos in the new era, especially the ones leading up to this, they're not being lazy. This was a very intentional choice. It just did not work. The next logo in the F tier, and this is one that is gonna piss off so many of you, the logo for Survivor Gabon. This is a big fan favorite logo, but I have always hated it. It is such a mess. Let's start with the positives. I like the snake. The snake is cool. We already did the snake in Survivor Amazon, but the snake is cool. And then the silhouette of the elephants is cool. But what else do we got going on here? We got a lot of gradients. We got gradients in the sky. We got gradients on the ground. Did they like just incorporate the gradient tool in Illustrator in this era? Survivor Tokenshien's logo goes crazy with the gradients too. Like I genuinely think that might be what happened. Also, the papyrus, we gotta talk about the papyrus. What are we doing here, guys? Even back when the season premiered, this was a font associated with spas. You know, I guess they pulled a James Cameron and thought it looked like cool and mysterious, but this is just not good. Also, I know you guys are like, but the gorilla's cool. Look at the facial expression on the gorilla. It's very dumb. Points for trying, but this is not it. Next is the logo for Survivor Marquesas. The first 3 logos for Survivor, told you exactly where you were going and what you needed to know about the season in a single glance. This does not tell me anything other than we're going to some island. That's all I got. The purple and blue and black color palette is kind of ugly, but more than anything, this logo's biggest crime is that it's just boring. This logo is more boring than the Rotu tribe. You know, this was a very early age of Survivor logos, but when I'm looking at the prior 2 logos for Survivor, this is just a huge downgrade. Moving along, we have the logo for Survivor Millennials versus Gen X. Oh man, one thing you guys are about to learn about me is that I generally do not like logos with a lot of brown and gray. And there's a lot of brown on this logo. I do think it's very funny that they tried to sell the Millennials versus Gen X theme with this sassy, hand-on-hip millennial standing next to this boring, straight-laced Gen Xer. Millennials stand like this. Gen X stands like this. Like, that is really funny to me. Overall, there are a few things I kind of like. Like, I like these little salamanders or geckos or whatever's going on. I like the font chosen for Millennials versus Gen X. But overall, we've got a lot of brown, a lot of like scribbly line work in the ocean and on the brown border. Plus, there are like 4 houses here, the thing millennials famously cannot afford. This is just a logo that is not visually appealing in any way, and it doesn't really sell the Millennials versus Gen X theme either, so it's not great. Next is the logo for Survivor Heroes versus Healers versus Hustlers. Man, I want to like this logo so much. I give it points for using a color palette that no other logo has used, but then you realize they haven't used these sickly oranges and purples for good reason. They're ugly. You can tell the designers had absolutely no idea what to do for this season's bizarre theme. Hero, healer, hustler, just put a ship and an iceberg in there, sure. I'm gonna give it points for actually successfully cramming in Survivor, Outwit, Outplay, Outlast, and Heroes versus Healers versus Hustlers into the logo without it feeling super overcrowded. That is no small feat. But, you know, this is not the Oscars where I'm going to give Bohemian Rhapsody best editing just because they salvaged a train wreck. It's still a train wreck, even if it's slightly salvaged. Let's move on to the D tier. These are logos that I still think are pretty weak. They have a lot of design elements that are either under or over baked, but they do have some things to like, which are just let down by the rest of the design. The first logo in D tier is the logo for Survivor 44. This is the most nothing logo they ever made. You know, I'm going to give it points for tying it into the season's medieval theme, but those are about the only points I'm going to give it. First of all, it does absolutely nothing with its very rare night setting. Like, you have the tiniest moon in Survivor logo history, a tiny little reflection, and that's it. But the massive amount of graystones may be the most boring and visually uninspired design element they ever used in any Survivor logo. You know, it's not offensively bad, it's just an absolute nothing. This logo is completely unmemorable, and you're gonna forget it in like 3 logos from now. Next is the logo for Survivor Nicaragua. Individually, I like every single design element in this logo. I love the purple and yellow. I love the monkeys. The ship is fine, the sun going down, the trees. Put it all together and it is an absolute cacophony. It is a disaster. There's so much going on. It's weighted so heavily to the right. It's so confusing. They did way too much on the right side and way too little on the left side. We could have met in the middle. It actually reminds me of the unused Survivor Nicaragua intro theme, which is similarly a complete disaster, which tries to do way too much. Again, individually, I like so much about this logo, but together, what a train wreck. The next logo in the D tier is the logo for Survivor All-Stars. I've been giving and taking away points when a season doesn't really sell its theme, and this one I don't think sells the theme. The logo for All-Stars should have incorporated design elements from every single logo in Survivor history. Instead, we get the river from Borneo, and that's it. Nothing about this screams All-Stars to me. None of this says all your favorites in Amber are back to battle it out in a clash of the Titans. This logo could apply to any season in any era. Also, way too much fire. We've got fire in the torch. We've got fire in some other torches. We've got fire on the border. We've even got fire in the word survivor. Let's dial it back with the fire. I know fire represents your life, but we've gone too far down that rabbit hole. Again, this is not offensively bad, but it does absolutely nothing with the All-Stars theme. Next is the logo for Survivor South Pacific. Another one that is just a bog standard Survivor logo. It's like if AI generated a Survivor logo. You've got a brown border, you've got a sunset, you've got some water, you've got some leaves, you've got some palm trees, you've got an island. These are all the most cliched elements of Survivor logos, and Survivor logos are at their best when they step outside of the box and do something really, really unique. Now, I'm gonna give this logo points because it's not ugly. Like, this looks good. This looks perfectly fine. And the little tiki guys on either side were on each tribe's buff, so that's kind of cool. I'll give half a point for that, sure. But overall, this is a logo that could apply to almost any season, and it is one of the most forgettable logos in Survivor history. Next is the logo for Survivor Micronesia. These are some ugly ass colors. I'm sorry. I like the sharks. The sharks are cool. Sharks are always cool. We all like sharks. But this logo does basically nothing else right. The colors are really unappealing visually, and this doesn't tell me much about the fans versus favorites theme. I mean, you could make the argument that the fans are supposed to be in the canoe and the sharks are the favorites ready to eat them alive, which was basically true, but I don't think that was intentional. Overall, sharks are cool. We like sharks, but an ugly logo. Next, let's look at the logo for Survivor 46. Another night logo in the new era, and this one at least is better than the logo for Survivor 44. This is another logo that is kind of a bit of a nothing for me. It's just people walking down the beach. Let's talk about the positives. I like all the blues they chose. They all play really well together. I love the red salamanders. They contrast very nicely with the blue and look great. Plus, this season had Japanese-inspired set decoration and incorporated salamanders or geckos or whatever these are a lot. So that plays in nicely too. But there's so much gray. Gray is boring. There's a reason like no company uses gray on its logo. It's decent, but for a season that was inspired by Japan, they could have done so much more. Next is the logo for Survivor Tocantins. I'm not going to knock the browns because the browns make sense for the desolation of the Brazilian highlands. But like Gabon, we've just gone absolutely crazy with the gradient tool. We've got gradients on the cliffs. We've got gradients on the river. We've got gradients in the sky. Guys, you forgot to put a gradient in your eagle. This logo sells the location really well, but it's not doing a whole lot more right outside of that. The next logo is the logo for Survivor Ghost Island. Another one that is probably going to upset some people. I love spooky stuff. Halloween is a national holiday in my house. The whole month of October is a national holiday in my house. But this one just doesn't make it for me. I do like the purple color palette. That all looks good, but I've never liked how they create a skull out of the palm trees and the guy standing with the torch set against the backdrop of the moon. Obviously, they thought this ruled because they used this as the individual immunity necklace as well. So they thought this looked great. I personally don't. I get what they were going for. I think you could make this work. I just don't think they did make it work. Also, the tiki guys on the bottom look like they're melting. Like, these guys look like the edible just kicked in and they're melting into the couch. Not what I would have gone with personally. Overall, I see what they were going for. I like the colors, but the design just doesn't work overall. Let's close out the D tier with the logo for Survivor Amazon. You know, this gets points for me for evoking the Amazon jungle decently, but I just think they should have picked a lane. They tried to do the two things you think about when you think about the Amazon, the river and the cool and dangerous wildlife. And I don't think they really sold either very well. The snake is way too big. We see very little of the river, and the snake's head and the toucan, the way they're angled, makes Outwit look crooked, which just irks me. I know it's not, but it just makes my eye twitch. Overall, they tried to focus on both the wildlife and the river, and they should have picked a lane. All right, let's move on to the C tier. These are logos that have more to like than dislike, but which are still fairly average. None of these are straight up ugly, but they're probably not going to knock your socks off either. The first logo in the C tier is the logo for Survivor One World. This one's pretty inoffensive, but it just feels like a retread of logos we've seen before. We had the pile of skulls in the logo for Survivor Fiji. We had the tiki face in the sun in Samoa. We had silhouettes of people on the beach on Redemption Island. It just kind of feels like we've been there before. I do like that they have the man and the woman standing on the same island. That ties together the men versus women and One World themes nicely, I suppose. But it just feels like they could have done so much more with this season's theme. And it just feels like a complete retread of design elements of logos we've seen in the past. The next logo in the C tier is the logo for Survivor Winners at War. I love this logo for a different season. I love the crashing waves. I love the shipwreck. The lightning is awesome, but this does not give me Winners at War. Winners at War was a celebration of 20 years of Survivor history. It opened with a champagne toast. This is not giving me champagne toast. Again, put this logo on a different season and I adore it. But for the season that is celebrating Survivor, Stormy Night at Sea is not really what I think of. Next up is the logo for Survivor Borneo. I almost didn't even rank this. It feels unrankable almost. On the one hand, it does so much right out of the gate. Basically gets all of the future design elements in their right place right out of the gate. On the other hand, so many other logos do this exact thing so much better and build off it. So I just kind of threw it in the middle here. It kind of feels like trying to compare the original Super Mario Brothers to like Super Mario Odyssey. We're just so far removed from the original and built off it so much that it's almost an unfair comparison. Next is the logo for Survivor 45. I don't think this is a popular logo, and I think I like it more than most, but I just love how much they incorporate the pelicans into this logo. The season had a bird theme, and I love that that's reflected on the logo. Somewhere, Austin is absolutely shitting his pants. You know, it is a little generic, like a person holding a torch and a sunset aren't exactly the most exciting thing, but I don't know, the colors all just really work together. I love the reflection of the sun in the water, and the pelicans, again, are just really, really cool. Plus, I love how it kind of builds off of the logo for Survivor 41. Maybe this is just my headcanon here, but this is one of the only other logos in the new era where a person is triumphantly holding a torch. And 41 kind of had the same thing. That was the new era. And with the 90-minute episodes in Survivor 45, this is kind of the new era of the new era. So maybe I completely made that up, but that's my headcanon at least. So that's kind of why I've got it up here in the mid-tier. Next is the logo for Survivor 47. I love the stone border. Survivor does this very sparingly where the border is textured something differently. This feels like you're in a creepy cave and you just spotted the exit and the sun's going down and the bats are out there, the skulls are out. It evokes such a creepy feeling. It tells a story. This is just a fun logo. And again, it ties into the season's bat theme. Still, I do think it clashes a little with the pretty realistic outlines of the people juxtaposed against the less realistic bats and the sun. But overall, this is a pretty solid logo. Moving on, let's look at the logo for Survivor Samoa. This one shouldn't really work for me, but it kind of does. For some reason, the brown and tan border doesn't really bother me here. It seems to like successfully contain all the other colors in the center. I love the angry face in the sun. It's like the reverse Teletubbies. And I love how the sun is reflected subtly on the water. Now, guy standing on beach holding torch isn't exactly blowing me away. We've seen that quite a few times, but this logo does enough differently and looks good enough that I'm willing to rank it here in the middle of the pack. Next is the logo for Survivor Palau. I'm going to give points right up front for selling the season's military theme very successfully. You've got this like military stencil font. You've got the shipwrecked plane. You've got the camo on the border. The problem is camo is a very unappealing pattern and color for me. I like the sharks. The sharks are super cool. It's even cooler that Tom caught a shark on the season. But generally, I just don't like the army green colors they used, even if it is selling the season's theme hard. So major points for selling the military theme, but I just personally don't think it looks that visually appealing. Next is the logo for Survivor Worlds Apart. I love the wood on the oval behind Survivor. It looks so freaking good. And I really love the colors they chose for the setting sun and the water. Even the gray border is going to get a bit of a pass for me because it almost feels like the rest of the logo is exploding out of it. Like, it looks pretty cool. Now the problem, what about this says worlds apart? Nothing. These tree houses are connected. That's quite literally worlds together. This logo looks great, but it is pretty generic. It's like they had this one in the chamber for when the art department all came down with the flu or something. Moving along, let's look at the logo for Survivor 48. The green color palette with the black and yellow on the border evokes such a mysterious feeling. And then you have the moon and the stars really adding to that. The fire of the torch is reflected off of the immunity idols, and the 48 is sticks tied together. That is so cool. You really feel like you're about to embark into a jungle untouched by humanity for 1,000 years. Now you're probably saying, what's your problem? Well, these little guys are my problem. They're so cartoony. They feel like designs out of like an Adult Swim cartoon or something. Like, they're just so cheesy. I know they tied into the like Izadega theme the season had. Remember that? I can almost guarantee you don't. Like, I get what they're going for, but their silly, simplistic design just clashes so much with the rest of the logo, which looks great. Let's wrap up the mid-tier with the logo for Survivor Cook Islands. Survivor has 3 pirate-themed logos, and this is probably the worst, which tells you the quality of pirate-related things. Okay, I love the font choice on Cook Islands. I like the compasses. I like the ship. I think this pretty successfully evokes a pirate and exploration vibe. Unfortunately, I'm not in love with the maroon and the orange. I think they look okay, but I think they could have done something different color-wise here. Overall, this could almost go into B tier. It is certainly a serviceable and appealing logo, but I just think everything else we're going to talk about looks a step above. Okay, let's move on to the B tier. These are logos that are really good visually, they sell the season's theme or location, and they just work well. However, they're just outclassed by everything in S and A tier and are just not quite on that level. Let's start the B tier with the logo for Survivor Redemption Island. I originally had this one lower, but it just kept climbing. This hard sells the Redemption Island theme better than the show does. You've got the busted Redemption Island arena. You've got the vultures really selling the idea that the players there are clinging to their Survivor life and trying to claw their way back into the game. And the desolate color palette goes a long way in selling that, as do the unlit torches. This logo goes so hard. I love it. Now, I don't really know why there's a giant alligator here. That's the only part that doesn't super work for me, although I like that it's gray and matches the gray stone ruins, but it doesn't quite fit in with the rest of the logo. But still, this logo goes super hard, and I think it deserves some more credit because I don't really hear people talk about this logo that much. The next logo in B tier is the logo for Survivor Edge of Extinction. I think the consensus on this one is that it kind of sucks, but I disagree. First of all, I'm a sucker for a purple and yellow color palette. This is the color palette the Survivor Nicaragua logo should have had. And like Redemption Island, I like how desolate this looks. This makes the Edge of Extinction look like a truly harsh and unforgiving place. And the bottom half being kind of underbaked honestly plays into the theme of the Edge being a place of nothingness. Plus, Edge of Extinction scrawled onto a parchment is cool. I do think it's kind of cool too that the guy's torch also kind of doubles as the sun. It actually looks like those old like Disney Channel commercials. I don't know, that's just what came to mind. Next is the logo for Survivor Guatemala. This logo came in a transitional stage in the show's art direction, I think, from the more simplistic style of the earlier days to the busier and more stylized logos of the teens and 20s, and I think it threads that needle really well. I love that this is unmistakably Guatemala. You got the Mayan ruins, you've got this guy here, I don't really know what his name is, but he's incorporated well. And I love the muted orange and teal. It all plays really well together, but they would really kick things up a notch in the next season. Up next is the logo for Survivor Korong. Oh man, this one is so good. The tigers, the textured blue border, the stylized clouds. This feels so mysterious and dangerous, and it did not have to go this hard, but it does. There is one glaring issue with this logo though, and that is the off-center temple. I know they were trying to balance out the heavier left side, but it just didn't work and is just so distracting for me. I really don't like it. Plus the teeny tiny little fires on the end just kind of look like ears. I don't know. Am I the only one who sees it? Like, it looks like they gave their logo little ears. Anyway, the colors and the texture in the tigers are more than enough to make up for that, but that off-center temple will bother me to the end of my days. Next is a logo for Survivor Blood vs. Water. This one really grew on me. I originally had it pretty low when I was making this list, but every time I revisited it, it just kept climbing. I love the pattern border. Obviously, I'm a sucker for a pattern border, and I like how much the Blood vs. Water theme is incorporated. I love how the reflection of the sun makes the water look like blood. It just works so well. The ship feels a little tacked on to me, but overall, this one really sells the Blood vs. Water theme and looks great doing it. Next is the second of our 3 pirate-themed logos, the logo for Survivor 49. Oh man, I don't know if a consensus has developed on this logo yet, but I adore it. I'm assuming the season's gonna have some sort of pirate theme given the logo, and this sells it very well. The ship in front of the sunset is something we've seen about a million times, but it's a classic for a reason. I love that Survivor is written on the parchment, and 49 being made out of rope is just so cool. Plus, sharks. We've got sharks. Throw Survivor 48 overboard. I am ready for Survivor 49. It's just got so much character and just screams pirate. Which, speaking of, the next logo in the B tier is the logo for Survivor Pearl Islands. This is a fan favorite logo for a reason. Again, a pirate is just sold hard right here. The red skulls, the ship in front of the sunset, Pearl Islands in the piratey font, it just hard sells swashbuckling adventure. My only issue is the pathetic amount of coins down here. Like, I don't know what the dollar to doubloon exchange rate is, but this seems like a pretty pitiful sum. We could have like stacked a few more coins on top of this, I think. But overall, a great logo for a great season. Closing out the B tier, we've got the logo for Survivor Cagayan. The stone border is absolutely awesome, and this guy in the center is so menacing. Like, it seems like this is a river of blood flowing right into him, and the green leaves on the side add the perfect pop of color. I think for this era, it's a relatively simple design, but this logo wisely focuses in on the centerpiece and directs your eye to him from every angle. Well done. Let's move on to the A tier. These are logos which are nearly flawless. The colors pop, the theme is hard sold, the logo looks incredible, and just has 1 or 2 minor flaws which might keep it out of the top tier. Generally speaking, these are all bangers. The first logo in the A tier is the logo for Survivor Australia. Well, you know where you're going when you look at this logo. I don't have a ton to say about this. I mean, this is the second season, but they did build off of the first season's logo very well. They added a stroke, which every logo afterwards would use. They chose the font and location for the season's subtitle, which most other logos would follow suit. But most importantly, it just looks good. The orange and yellow and black scream Australia. The kangaroo really screams Australia. And the sticks on the side just tell you you're going to a dangerous, desolate place. This is one of my favorite of the early season logos, and it could not be more Australian if it was playing Knifey Spoony. Next is the logo for Survivor Africa. It's simple, it's effective, it's season 3. This one's kind of a companion for Australia for me. They're kind of doing a lot of the same things. And this one, like Australia, sells the Kenya setting very, very well. You've got this traditional African color palette with the greens and the yellows and the reds. You've got the giraffe in the center. Again, like Australia, it feels desolate, it feels dangerous, and it feels adventurous. I wouldn't say this is super beautiful or intricate, but it is extremely successful at what it wants to do for an early season logo. Next is the logo for Survivor San Juan del Sur. It is impressive. They managed to shove in not one, but two subtitles and Outwit, Outplay, Outlast and Survivor into the logo without it feeling super crowded. Now, that means that there's not a lot of real estate on the bottom half of the logo, and that's fine. I love this logo's color palette. I love this guy in the center. I love how the grass is like subtly overgrowing onto the border of the logo. But my favorite part is that the fire is reflecting onto the skulls. What? That is so cool. This logo was just way too good to be wasted on John Rocker. Let's move on to the logo for Survivor Island of the Idols. This is the only time you'll ever hear me rank Island of the Idols in the A tier for anything. And it's because this logo is so good. I love the pattern border. I love the pastel color palette. I love how mysterious the jungle looks. And I love these Easter Island guys in the center here. But my favorite part of the logo is the immunity idols on either side. They committed to tricking the cast about what Island of the Idols actually was in the season's logo. That is so cool. This logo just does so much, and it's a shame it's attached to such a bad season. Next is the logo for Survivor Karamoan. Oh man, this is probably my favorite night logo. It looks so good. The black and teal look so good together. The subtle skulls on the ground. There's like a vine or a snake coming out of the eyes of one of them. It feels so mysterious, and the tiki in the center feels weirdly awe-inspiring. Now, like the other fans versus favorites logo, this is losing points for me because it does absolutely nothing with the fans versus favorites theme. They didn't even try to incorporate that into the logo, but when the logo looks this good, I'm willing to forgive a lot. Next is the logo for Survivor Vanuatu. They were cooking with this one. I mean, literally, those poor souls. Other early Survivor logos sold a sense of mystery or adventure. This one just tells you you're gonna die. I don't even really think I have to explain why this one is so good. You've got a giant volcano actively erupting, lava flowing down, and a bunch of skulls in the center. Plus, the word Vanuatu seems to be like actively on fire or something. Fantastic logo. It's almost insane that this was just season 9. Next is the logo for Survivor David versus Goliath. I know this is a fan favorite, but I think I like it just a little less than most people. I like the stone battle arena here. This is very unmistakably David versus Goliath. I like that the sun is setting in the background, and I like this biblical font they chose for David versus Goliath. Still, I do think both the David and Goliath guys are a little cartoony. Like, he actually looks like he would unironically say, "Come at me, bro," or something. I don't love that. But overall, hard sells the theme and looks good. All right, I believe we are in the top 10, and the next one up is the logo for Survivor Game Changers. Game Changers had a soft shipwreck theme, and this just sells it so well. They went all in. The anchor, the spear, the rope, the shipwreck. Everything looks great, but what is really pulling it together for me is the yellow and blue color palette. This is just a color combination that looks great together and practically jumps off the buff. Y'all know I am a certified Game Changers hater, but this logo is just so good. Next is the logo for Survivor Philippines. Magenta is such a bold primary color choice that this logo deserves the top 10 just for that. Everything just works so well together here for me. I love the Filipino fisherman with the spear. I love the color palette. I adore the cobras on the bottom, and I like this ruffled pattern that they have on the edge that is extremely easy to miss. You can tell they put a lot of care into this logo, and it really paid off, and the bold color choices just vault it to the next level. Let's close out the A tier with the logo for Survivor 43. You know, I think the consensus on this is that it's actually not a very good logo, but man, that octopus may be my single favorite piece of art in any Survivor logo ever. I love that it's wrapping around the border of Survivor. I love the shade of purple they chose. I absolutely adore the greens they picked too. The only thing that isn't working 100% for me is the level of detail on the octopus juxtaposed with the level of detail elsewhere. The border and the water are pretty simplistic, but let's be real, the octopus is our main event here anyway. Alligabler who? Give me Octogabler. Let's move on to the S tier. These are the greatest of the greats. Flawless logos which effortlessly convey the season's theme or location while also being absolutely visually stunning. Logos do not get better than these. The first logo in the S tier and the best logo of the new era is the logo for Survivor 41. I adore this logo. I was so excited when I first saw it. The symbolism of the triumphantly raised torch, showing the show weathering the storm of COVID and coming out the other side of a year and a half off the air, just makes me emotional almost. It's so good. I love that the storm is clearing and it juxtaposes nicely with the Winners at War logo where the storm is still going on. The pastel blues and the pale yellow work together so well. I love that the eye in Survivor is the torch. I'm honestly kind of surprised it took them that long to do that. A fantastic, triumphant logo fitting for Survivor's return after a year and a half off the air. Next is the logo for Survivor China. This one is a huge fan favorite, and it's so obvious why. They went all in on Chinese culture in the actual season, and that extends to the logo too. You've got the yellow and red dragons clutching onto the word Survivor, you've got the Great Wall in the background, you've got the temple, and you've got At Wit Out Play Out Last in Chinese characters. That is so cool. This logo, like the season itself, is a love letter to Chinese culture, and it works perfectly. Next is the logo for Survivor Heroes versus Villains. From one fan favorite to another, I love the moon rising up top with the sharks feasting down below, but we all know why we're here. Return, Revenge, Redemption replacing Out Without Play Out Last is such a cool choice, but the coolest part is that they silhouetted all 20 players who were on the season on the actual logo. They never did this before or after in any returnee season. That is so awesome. Now, I'm not sure that Candace deserves to be one of 20 players memorialized on a Survivor logo, but whatever, it is what it is. This absolutely rules. Up next is the best of our pre-All-Stars logos, the logo for Survivor Thailand. This is just the peak of that early era logo design, and it does everything right. You can see they're branching out into a little more adventurous designs. For the first time, the border is not black, but purple. You've got the sun reflecting in the water, which is the first time they did that. And the elephant makes for a nice focal point. It's just very visually pleasing to look at with the right amount of ornamentation. This logo doesn't do as much as later logos, but it doesn't need to. The peak of early era Survivor design. The third best logo in Survivor history is the logo for Survivor Exile Island. Like the logo for Vanuatu, this logo is telling you, you are going to die. Is the red water the sun's reflection, or did these sharks just eat a ton of people? Who's to say, but this logo rules. I love the melting candles on the side. It makes you feel like you only have a little bit of light left once the sun goes down, and then it's going to be pitch black. But obviously why we're here is Exile Island in the center with the sun's reflection making a skull on it. Absolutely insane. It's so creepy. It's so perfectly done. And Ghost Island should have taken notes from this one. The second best logo in Survivor history is the logo for Survivor Cambodia. Purple and pink? Are you kidding me, Survivor? I don't know anyone who doesn't like this logo. The beautiful, bright colors just made this an instant classic. And what's not to love? Everything works together perfectly. The water lilies, the font for Cambodia, the way the temple is reflected in the water, the statues. When this logo came out, nothing this bold and expressive had ever been done. And it was coming off a season of logos with relatively muted color palettes. Just absolutely jaw-droppingly beautiful. The best Survivor logo of all time is the logo for Survivor Fiji. This has to be the consensus greatest logo ever, right? At least in the top 5. This logo is going to kill you. War clubs, a burning inferno, a creepy mask in front of a pile of burning skulls. How could this be anything but number 1? Even the word Survivor is made on this faded old wood. They never really did something like that again, ever. It's just such a dangerous feeling logo with so many things that work so well that I can barely believe it came out so early in the show's lifespan. If you go back just a few years, the designs are pleasing but relatively simple. This logo is just such a massive leap forward in the designs, and the show never looked back. Man, I love this logo! There we have it, my ranking of all 50 Survivor logos and counting. Now I want to know your thoughts in the comments. What are your favorites? What are your least favorites? What did I get right and what did I get wrong? You're still mad I put Gabon so low, aren't you? As I said at the top, this is part of a new series where I can do more long-form rankings of the most minutia of Survivor minutia. So let me know in the comments what sort of things you want me to rank. Until next time, don't get idled out.